We are listening Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Talk 109. Two gentlemen from Ambala, Punjab had been at a Ramanashram for a few weeks. Just before taking leave of Sri Bhagavan, one of them asked how he should remove the spiritual drowsiness of his friends or of other people in general. Ramana Maharshi replied, "Have you removed your own spiritual drowsiness? The force which is set up to remove your own drowsiness will also operate in other centers. There is the willpower with which you can act on others, but it is on a lower plane and not desirable. Take care of yourself first." Then the same devotee shifted the question to how to remove my own drowsiness. Maharshi Ramana said, "Whose drowsiness is it? Inquire. Turn within. Turn all your inquiries towards search for the self. The force set up within you will operate on others also." Talk 110. An American lady asked Sri Bhagavan what his experiences of Samadhi were. When suggested that she should relate her experiences and ask if they were right, she replied that Sri Bhagavan's experiences ought to be correct and should be known, whereas her own were unimportant. She thus wanted to know if Sri Bhagavan felt his body hot or cold in Samadhi, if he spent first 3.5 years of his stay at Tirunmalai in prayers and so on. Maharshi replied to this as, "Samadhi transcends mind and speech and cannot be described. For example, the state of deep slumber cannot be described. Samadhi state can still be less explained." Then the devotee asked, "But I know that I am unconscious in deep sleep." Consciousness and unconsciousness are only modes of the mind. Samadhi transcends the mind. Devotee then asked, "Still you can say what it is like." Maharshi Ramana said, "You will know only when you are in Samadhi." Talk 111. A Telugu gentleman asked about Brahma Bhavana. Ramana Maharshi replied, "Not to think I am Brahma or all is Brahma is itself Jivanmukti." Then he asked about inspired action. Ramana Maharshi replied, "Let activities go on. They do not affect the pure self." Talk 112 now. Mr. Paul Brinton, while reading Upadesha Manjari, came across the statement that the ego, the world, and the God are all unreal. He desired to use a different word for God, or at least a qualifying adjective, the creative force or personal God. Sri Bhagavan explained that God means samasthite, that is, all that is plus the being. In the same way as I means the individual place or individual plus the being, the world means the variety plus being. The being is in all cases real. The all, the variety, and the individual is in each case unreal. So also in the union of the real and the unreal, the mixing up or the false identification is wrong. It amounts to saying sad asad vilakshana, that is, transcending the real and transcending the unreal. Reality is that which transcends all the concepts, ideas, notions, including that of God. In as much as the name of God is used, it cannot be true. The Hebrew word Jehovah, I am, expresses God correctly. Absolute being is beyond expression. Ramana Maharshi said further that the word cannot be replaced or need it be replaced. The Englishman casually said that in prehistoric ages there was spirituality but not high intellect, whereas intellect has now developed. Sri Bhagavan pointed out that intellect raises the question, whose intellect? The answer is of the self. So intellect is a tool of the self. The self uses intellect for measuring variety. Intellect itself is not the self or apart from it. The self alone exists as eternal. Intellect is only a phenomena. People speak of the development of variety as being the development of intellect. Intellect was always there, always there. Dhatayat parvam akalpayet, the Creator created just as before. Consider your own state day by day. There is no intellect in dreamless deep sleep, but it is there now. There is no intellect in a child. It develops with age. How could there be manifestation of intellect without its seed in the sleep state and in the child? Why go to history to teach this fundamental fact? The level of truth of history is only the level of truth of the individual. Talk 113. A Telugu gentleman asked about the Karma Yoga. Sri Bhagavan said that the man should act as an actor on the stage. In all actions there is the Sat as underlying principle. Remember it and act on it. He asked about the purity of mind, Chitta Suddhi. Sri Bhagavan said that Chitta Suddhi is to engage in one thought only to the exclusion of all others. It is otherwise called one-pointedness of the mind, The practice of meditation purifies the mind. Talk 114. Baron von Weldem, Austrian and East German Baron, asked, there should be harmony between the knowledge of the self and knowledge of the world. They must develop side by side. Is it right? Does Maharshi agree? Ramana Maharshi replied, yes. Then the devotee asked, beyond the intellect and before wisdom dawns, there will be pictures of the world passing before one's consciousness. Is it so? Sri Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi pointed out the parallel passage in Dakshinamurti Stotra to signify that the pictures are like reflections in a mirror. Again, from the Upanishad, as in the mirror, so in the world of men's, as in the water, so in the world of Gandharvas, as show and sunlight in Brahma Loka. Devotee then asked that there is spiritual awakening since 1930 all over the world. Does Maharshi agree? Maharshi said the development is according to your sight. The Baron asked that if Maharshi would induce a spiritual trance and give him a message which is unspoken but still understandable, no answer was made. Talk 115. Mr. M. Friedman, even without any initial desires, there are some strange experiences for us. Where from do they arise? Maharshi Ramana said, the desire may not be there now, even if it was there before. Though forgotten by you, now it is bearing fruit in due course. That is how the Jnani is said to have Prarabdha left for him. Of course, it is only according to the past. Of course, it is only according to others' point of view. Devotee then asked in the talk 116 that Jiva is said to be bound by karma. Is it so? Maharshi Ramana said, let karma enjoy its fruit. As long as you are the doer, so long are you the enjoyer. How to get released from the karma? Devotee asked. Maharshi said, see whose karma it is. You will find you are not the doer. Then you will be free. This requires grace of God, for which you should pray to Him, worship Him, and meditate on Him. The karma which takes place without effort, that is involuntary action, is not binding. Even a jnani is acting as seen by his bodily movements. There can be no karma without effort or without intentions. Therefore, there are sankalpas for all. They are of two kinds. One sankalpa creating bondage, bandha hetu, and the other not binding, mukti hetu. The former must be given up and the latter must be cultivated. Maharshi said further that there is no fruit without previous karma. no karma without previous sankalpa. Even mukti must be the result of effort so long as the sense of doership persists. Talk 117. A Sri Lankan asked that Sri Bhagavan, what is the first step for realization of self? Please help me towards it. There is no use reading the books. Then another man asked that Maharshi, this one man's request is that of us all. Ramana Maharshi on this replied, you are right. If the self be found in books, it would have been already realized. What wonder can be greater than that we seek the self in books? Can it be found there actually? Books are important, they create sense to look. But the changes are required to be made inside in our own nature. Ramana Maharshi said, of course, books have given readers the sense to ask this question and to seek the self. This also is relevant. Then the devotee said, books are utterly useless. They may all be burnt. The spoken word of a true man alone is useful. Grace alone is useful. Others spoke according to their own light until finally they returned to the original question. But Sri Bhagavan remained silent when this person was telling these things. The more true the individual from the heart, the grace flows on its own. And whenever Sri Bhagavan is silent, the grace flows more and more. To the Ceylonese or the Sri Lankan person, when asked many things, Sri Bhagavan got silent. Talk 118 now. Mr. Rangachari, a Telugu Pandit in a college at Vellore, asked about the Nishkama Karma. There was no reply. After a time, Sri Bhagavan went up the hill and a few followed him, including the Pandit. There was a thorny stick lying on the way which Sri Bhagavan picked up. He sat down and began leisurely to work at it. The thorns were cut off, the knots were made smooth, the whole stick was polished with a rough leaf. The whole operation took about 6 hours. Everyone was wondering at the fine appearance of the stick made of a spiky material. A shepherd boy put in his appearance on the way as the group moved off. He had lost his stick and was at a loss. Sri Bhagavan immediately gave the new one in his hand to the boy and passed on. The Pandit said that this was the matter-of-fact answer to his question. one can understand how a realized master served the devotee. Ramana Maharshi worked on the stick for 6 hours, then walking, so it was around 8 hours of work. Ramana Maharshi was telling that man that sincere, concentrated work could lead to the Nishkama karma on its own. This Nishkama karma is abhav. It could be made in 2 ways, by concentration and by thought also. Both must be adopted. Talk 119. Again, at the same time, there were 4 dogs in the ashram. Sri Bhagavan said that those dogs would not accept any food not partaken by himself. The Pandit put the matter to the test. He spread some food before them. They would not touch it. Then Sri Bhagavan, after a time, put a small morsel of it into his mouth. Immediately they fell to and devoured the food or consumed the food. In a way, Maharshi was telling that the animals surrender easily than man. So the animal doesn't suffer, man suffer. Talk 120. Later, a man brought 2 peacocks with their eyes screened. When let loose in Maharshi's presence, they flew away to a distance. They were brought back, but still they flew away. Sri Bhagavan then said, "It is no use trying to keep them here. They are not ripe in their minds as these dogs." However much they tried to keep the peacocks, they would not remain there even for a minute. Maharshi was telling that the grace flows when the circumstances are deserving. It is not that the spiritual fruit can be had by anyone. Little earnestness is required. The discipline is required. A right set of living and the thinking towards the living is also important in this consideration of the flow of grace. Talk 121. Talk between the master and 2 Muslims on a previous occasion. Has God a form? Devotee asked. Ramana Maharshi says, "Who says so?" Devotee then said, "Well, if God has no form, is it proper to worship idols?" Ramana Maharshi said, "Leave God alone, because He is unknown yet. What about you? Have you a form?" "Yes, I am this and so and so." Ramana Maharshi then said, "So then, you are a man with limbs about 3.5 cubits high, with beard, etc. Is it so?" Then that Muslim devotee said, "Certainly, Master." "Then do you find yourself so in deep sleep?" Maharshi asked. Devotee said, After waking, I perceived that I was asleep. I was sleeping. Therefore, by inference, I remained thus in deep sleep also. Maharshi said, if you are the body, why do they bury the corpse after death? The body must refuse to be buried. Then the devotee says, no, I am the subtle jiva within the gross body. So you see that you are really formless. But you are at present identifying yourself with the body. So long as you are formful, why should you not worship the formless God as being formful? The questioner was baffled and perplexed. Maharshi was telling, till you believe in your form as a human being with the body, you are performing the worship of the idol. But then at one point, when the quest is set right and honest, the realization comes that you are not just this body, you are more that something which is witnessing this body and its activity. When that thing is knocking your door of understanding, you become formless. Because then you are spending more time witnessing. So you become that. Something which is seeing everything. You just became a third eye or something who can just watch, formless. No name could be given because that thing is same in everyone. Now one can do the worship of the formless substance or the truth. Talk 122. A crowd had gathered during the Christmas at Ramanashram, and then the communication with the devotee or the lovers of Sri Ramana Maharshi started with the question that how to attain unity consciousness. Ramana Maharshi replied, being unity consciousness, how to attain it? Your question is its own answer. Devotee then asked, what is self, non-self and supreme self? Ramana Maharshi said, Atma is Jivatma and the rest are plain. The self is ever present, Nitya Siddha. Each one wants to know the self. What kind of help does one require to know oneself? People want to see the self as something new, but it is eternal and remains the same all along. They desire to see it as a blazing light, etc. How can it be so? It is not light, not darkness, na tejo na tamaha. It is only as it is, it cannot be defined. The best definition is, I am that I am. The Shrutis speak of the self as being the size of one's thumb, the tip of the hair, or an electric spark, vast, subtler than the subtlest, etc. They have no foundation, in fact. It is only being, but the different from the real and the unreal. This is knowledge, but different from the knowledge and ignorance. How can it be defined at all? Because the truth only is simple, being. Again, Ramana Maharshi continued that in the whole of Thayumanavar literature, he preferred one stanza which says, ego disappearing, another I spontaneously manifests in full glory. Again, he quotes Skandar Anubhuti, not real, nor unreal, not darkness, nor light, it is that. Then a man said that a Siddha of Kumbakonam claimed to overcome the defects in Sri Shankara's system, which deals only with transcendentalism and not the work-a-day life. One must be able to exercise superhuman powers in ordinary life. That is to say, one must be a Siddha in order to be perfect. Sri Bhagavan pointed out a stanza in Thayumanavar which condemns all Siddhis. Further, he said that Thayumanavar mentions Mouna, silence, in numerous places but defines it in only one verse. Mouna is said to be that state which spontaneously manifests after the annihilation of the ego. That state is beyond light and darkness, but still it is called light, since no other proper word could be found for it. A pause now. Thanks for listening.